There are many things that I wish I knew when I started with this hobby. Sometimes you will find out yourself that some tools are awesome and some tools are not so great. To this day it happens to me that I discover tools and things that I never knew even existed, and in many cases it makes my life way easier. So here I present to you 8 things that will either make your life easier or will save you time and money. The first one on the list is a proper lamp. When I started with Warhammer, I just wanted to build cool miniatures and finish my Black Templar army, and that was it. But if you wanna paint your little plastic dudes well, proper light will be a game changer. Once I got this lamp, my painting really started to improve. A lot in fact. And proper light was such a big factor on my journey. I believe that I wasted so many years worth of improvement just because I didn't see the miniatures properly. Truly, once you get used to painting with a lamp, you won't get your head around the fact you did anything without it. Basically any videos where you see me paint anything are lit with this lamp. And what I really like about it is that there are 3 LED lights and they allow it to be quite dispersed. Unlike a lamp with just one bulb, which I wouldn't really recommend, but hey, it's 1000 times better than no lamp at all. This lamp is from Wayland, and there is gonna be a link in the description where you can get it if you are from EU. And there is gonna be similar lamp recommended if you are from the US. But the main thing that you are looking for is that it's cold daylight, not some yellow or orange light, and the more dispersed it can be, the better. Another tool that I just love is a magnetic case. Now this is not exactly a hobby tool for making cool miniatures, but it will definitely keep your miniatures safe. Like most people, I was used to using a foam case from Games Workshop to get my miniatures from home to my local gaming store, but unfortunate thing about that is that sometimes little spiky pieces can crack and even paint can get scraped off to the point that you see primer. With a magnetic case, this is not an issue. Simply stick some magnets to the base and you are good to go. The miniatures will not fall, and what I really like about this one is that you can modify it, so if you need more space for vehicles or monsters, you can remove one section and vice versa. This is maybe not a big deal for Space Marines, but believe me, when you're transporting Drukhari or something like this with many fragile parts and spikes, it's way better to use magnetic case. Of course, you don't have to buy a magnetic case exactly like this one. For example, you can go to a hardware store, get some metal sheet material and glue it to the inside of any container. I also use these old Pokemon tin boxes, so if you just go play Kill Team or Warcry, one is enough. And I can actually imagine that you can get multiple of these and move your entire army if you don't have any vehicles or bigger stuff. This is something that you can absolutely live without, but it will make some parts of the painting process way faster. When you get your own airbrush, you don't really need to buy a rattle can to prime or varnish your miniatures anymore, so in the long run, it should also save you some money. But most importantly, it's great for base coating. For example, when I painted these Sons of the Phoenix Space Marines, they were primed with Corax White primer, and then I used regular paintbrush to base coat them with Ulthuan Grey. This is important since if I wanted to fix any mistakes, I would simply go to Ulthuan Grey again and the armor won't come out patchy. However, since I used paintbrush, it took me eternity just to get them base coated. My estimate is that it takes me 5 to 10 minutes or so to really properly cover the miniature with the base coat in this case, especially since it was white, but with airbrush it takes me like 2 minutes max. Also, if the Space Marines or any miniatures really are separated to multiple parts, you can use an airbrush to base coat them with a different color, which once more saves you more time. Now imagine that your army is supposed to have some really specific green base coat for the most part. There won't be any rattle can of that particular color, so you either use paintbrush or an airbrush if you have it. I honestly think that being able to spray any color by itself is very valuable, even if you don't use your airbrush for things like creating smooth transitions or some glow effects or stuff like that. To start, you can get a very cheap airbrush for like $20 from eBay, and honestly it works just fine. I will get better airbrush eventually, but at the end of the day it still just allows you to spray any paint. Another thing that you need is a compressor just like this one. Plug it in and you are ready to go. I also like this little airbrush holder slash spray out pot, so you can spray the excess paint there, or you can use a pipette to get most of the liquid out, but unlike airbrush and the compressor, this is not essential. Additionally, I bought these little bottles that are great for any premixed liquid for airbrushing. I got these from pharmacy and this one is from Contact Lens Liquid. I also use these bottles to refill my wet palette, which brings us to If you don't already own one, definitely get a wet palette. For the longest time, I have used a simple coffee underplate as my palette, but looking back, I just wasted so much paint that way. Wet palette allows you to control your paint dilution, and it allows you to store paint for later usage. So when you are ready for next painting session, you can use paint from the previous one. This wet palette is from Redgrassgames and it's fantastic. There is this sponge that absorbs the water, and they also sell pre-cut parchment paper where you load your paint. If you don't spread your paint too much and keep it in a small blob, it will stay wet and usable for a long time. You don't have to necessarily buy a wet palette. For example, you can get a plastic container, put either some sponge or a paper towel in there, and cut a parchment paper which you put on top of it. It works just fine, some people even prefer it, and I have used it for a long time as well. I don't know how about you, but for me, painting bases is sometimes just an afterthought. And that's especially true when painting armies. Usually when I finished my armies, I got a GW texture paint, spread it nicely on the base, and paint it. This is sort of quick and easy way to get your army done, but there is one thing that you can improve. Instead of using texture paint like this one, do yourself a favor and buy a texture paste from Vallejo. Citadel texture paint costs around $8 in my local gaming store, but Vallejo paste costs around $9, so you get way more for basically the same price. There is a slight difference since the Vallejo one is a little bit thicker, but I guess that you can add some water and spread it. There are multiple types that can produce slightly different result, but I would probably just get pumice and the sand one, and you can paint over that without an issue. Now, if you get some pigments as well, you can produce very decent bases in a very short amount of time, so your entire army will look great. Whatever army you are painting, chances are that at some point you are gonna use a wash to shade your miniatures. And that is absolutely fine, but if you are painting tanks or space marines, there is very quick and effective way to shade them, and for that you can use oil/enamel wash. This right here is a speed painter's dream. You can simply take it, apply it on the miniature, and the wash will spread along the recesses, making it way faster than standard wash. I have already made a video on different types of washes, even made a comparison between them, so if you're interested, there is gonna be a link in the description or top right corner. This is probably a surprise to no one, since if you are already in miniature painting game for some time, you are already using quality brushes. When I started with this hobby, I used Army Painter and Citadel brushes for most of the stuff, but if you want to pay extra attention to some details, you probably have to upgrade. You need your brush to have a nice tip, hold enough paint inside the bristles, and the brush should have a little bit of a spring. If you get a brush like that, the paint will flow very nicely off the tip, and you will be able to paint even very small details. My favorite is DaVinci Maestro Series 35, but you can use Series 10 since it's the same thing but has slightly shorter bristles. Some people also like Raphael or Winsor & Newton Series 7, and all of these are just fine. These are also made from natural sable hair, which I would really recommend over synthetic brushes for details. Either way, there is yet another video for brush selection, so if you're interested, you can see that one as well. In most of my videos, you will either see that I'm using gloves or some kind of painting handle, or both. There are just two reasons why I'm doing this. First one is so I can paint the miniature without worrying about breaking any parts of it. Most painters like to rest the painting hand against the other hand, and this is easier if you are using a painting handle. There are multiple painting handles that you can buy. For example, I like this Redgrassgames one, since it's magnetic, and you can leave your miniature in a specific angle if you need to apply your wash a certain way. You can also spin the top part of it, which makes it easy for you to paint your miniature from all angles. It's also removable, so if you want to switch to a different miniature, you can definitely do that. The second reason why I am doing this is to not stain the miniature. I don't know how about you, but sometimes I get my hands all sweaty, or I even get some paint on them, and if I touch the miniature at that very moment, it can be really bad for it. So gloves and a painting handle will prevent that. I honestly couldn't imagine painting without gloves during summer, since the sweaty hands can be a real problem. There is gonna be a link in the description for most of the stuff that I already talked about, so if you wanna support the channel and you wanna get these things, now is the chance to do so. And you know, to this day I still discover new things that I didn't even know about. For example, this thing right here is a masking tape for airbrushing, and it's not something revolutionary, I just didn't come across it, and when I saw it I knew that I need this. And I am saying this because I want to know from you guys, which tools are a game changer in your opinion, whether it be for miniature painting or some kind of case for transporting your miniatures. Let me know down in the comment section, and I truly read every single comment that you leave there. Now, of course, if you like the video, consider subscribing to this channel, that always helps, and see you in the next one. Bye!